Happy Self Love Sunday, ladies. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that your journeys are going well. Well, today I just wanted to come in real quick and kind of have a conversation about who do you think you are, right? So, the reason why I want to talk about this is because, truthfully, a part of this whole self love journey is breaking down all the beliefs and everything we've ever been told about ourselves. Think about it. I don't know about you, but I didn't know I was ugly, fat, poor, or any of those things. Had a big nose and had a big booty, or I didn't know any of those things that someone told me. Think about this, right? From the time we were young, we've been told all these different things about who we are, what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to do it, who we're supposed to believe in, how we're supposed to believe in them. And then we get to this point in our lives and they say, well, who are you? Who do you think you are? It's like, shit, do we even really know who we are? And I'm not talking about the walls that we've built up. I'm not talking about the defense mechanisms that we've built as a result of the things we've been told about ourselves. So then it creates this outer being, right? This person that people see when they encounter you, the representative. Some people like to call that, right? I'm not talking about that person. I'm talking about when you break down the walls and your representative is no longer in front of you. Who are you really? What do you really love? Who do you really love? Is everything that you do, think, and feel today about something you were told? Or is this truly something that you feel? And that's what self-love is really about. It's breaking down and getting away from all of that and really getting in tune with you, who you are, how you feel. And it's not really based off of your words, right? I always tell people all the time, there are so many people around here that say one thing and do another, right? Words are not it. And it's not even really action, it's emotion. How do you feel? What do you feel when you walk into a room and greet people? What do you feel when you're parenting your children? What do you feel when you're with your significant other? How do you feel when you're alone and there's no one else around, right? What do you feel? Most of us, and I'm telling you, anything like me, didn't have a dang on clue. Had no idea. I used to have inklings about myself growing up, right? There would be things that would happen that I really couldn't explain, or I wouldn't explain, right? Because one of the things that I used to hear about myself is like, oh, she likes attention, or likes to be the center of the room. Meanwhile, the honest, true feeling in my inside was I didn't like that at all. I didn't feel secure in myself to even want to be the center of attention. I thought I was ugly. You know what I mean? I thought my body was messed up. I didn't have great feeling about myself coming up. A lot of people thought that I did, and that's because of my wall, and I would let my ego lead. Right, so my true soul of who I was always in the back, but I would let that ego come out in the front because it was like, yo, you're not gonna keep saying whatever you want to say to me or do what you want to do to me to continue to hurt me. I already feel hurt enough. I already feel enough rejection. Already feel enough pain. So I'm gonna put this wall up. I'm gonna fight whomever. I'm gonna go off on whomever. I'm gonna do whatever it is due to keep people at bay so they don't really so my feelings don't get hurt anymore. That's truly what that was, right? But it was like coming into this journey, it was like, damn, like I really don't know truthfully what I really love or what I really like. I don't really truly even know me, you know? So it was really about breaking down everything and just sitting by myself, just being alone and really getting to understand the true me. And then I got to understand a little bit of why those experiences were happening to me. I'll give you two examples of what I mean when I say that. I remember I was about a teenager, like 14 or 15, and at that time I was really just wild. I was wild, right? I was just what some parents would say, just bad as hell. And I was just like, just hell bent on being rebellious for a lot of different reasons. Mainly, that was my defense mechanism, right? So I remember my father used to go to this church, Faith Fellowship, and it was in South Plainfield. And we went to the church, and I'm sitting there and I'm listening. And you remember, I'm a rebellious teen. Like, I just didn't really care about a lot. I was raised in the church, but I was like, I went. But in the midst, I will never forget, in the midst of listening to the sermon, there was something about something the pastor was saying. And he was just like, if you feel like the need to come to the altar to like get saved or whatever, come up. And I couldn't even tell you at 14, I was telling you about 15, the feeling that was inside of me, it was flooded. I don't know. I can't even really describe it too much to the day what it was, but I always felt like all along the route of my life, there was always somebody there saving me and pushing me, and I couldn't describe it, but I had to like get up out of my seat and go up there. Like I can't even. I was a teenager. Teenagers really wasn't, are not into that, right? I had to, and it wasn't about. As a matter of fact, I was scared to do it because my parents was there. I didn't really want them to see me do too much of anything. I just wasn't feeling it back then when I was a teenager. So I couldn't explain why I felt the need to do it or just do it, but I did. And I remember going up and doing it and, being touched by the pastor, whatever, and then coming back. And we left and we get in the car. My father was saying something and then he started to pray. And instantly, I went back in my shell. It was like, all right, I didn't want to experience that thing with you. I don't even know why I went up there. You know what I mean? I just felt that urge to do it, but I don't want to make this a big deal because yet again, I don't want to be the center of attention, right? You see, like it's like all these things, and the next experience, which was a huge one, I was grown. I was in a hotel room with my ex, and I just remember being in the room and hearing this noise. I couldn't I was just like, what is that? Do you hear it? And he was like, no, I don't hear anything. And I'm just like, I hear somebody. So I looked at the little pee hole. I don't see anybody, but I can hear somebody. And I know he's like looking at me like, this girl is crazy. But I'm like, I could hear somebody like faintly saying help. And then I let it go for a minute. And then I heard it again. And something just said, open the door. I opened the door and there was this lady. I'll never forget her laying down in front of the door. I mean, blood everywhere. She had slit her wrist. She was trying to commit suicide. So I screamed at him like, called, 911, called him to get help. And I grabbed some towels out the room, just not thinking anything, just not wrap her arms up. And I just remember looking into her eyes. She had the most deep, beautiful blue eyes I had ever seen in my life. It was almost like her eyes could like take you away, right? And I'm like wrapping her arms up, and she's looking, and she's like, she said to me, she was like, I don't want to die. And I was like, you're not. And I was like, just pouring into her. Some of the things I said to her, I could promise you I don't even remember what I said, but I just remembered like telling her like, I love you, and you're gonna live and you're gonna be okay, and don't ever do this again. You're beautiful. Like I can see your soul and I know that you are just beautiful. And I'm telling her all these things, right? Meanwhile, it's a lot of scrambling coming. The people from the desk, downstairs come up, and I'm like, he's trying to talk, but I'm not like, I'm just like, just call the ambulance, like, you know what I mean? Like, just be quiet. They were worried about all the blood. I wasn't worried about the blood for whatever reason. I knew I was protected. Weird, right? And I was just more fixated on her, letting her know that I'm here for you and I have you and I got you. And then the ambulance people came and she was like, can you go with me? And I was just telling her like, no, I couldn't go with her. And I was asking the guy his name and he told me his name. And I was just like, you're going to go with him and he's going to take care of you and you're going to be fine. You're going to live. Just remember that I love you. Just remember that you're beautiful. And having that experience after it was over, said and done, we went back into the room or whatever. And I just remember like knowing that something was just off about having that. Like, how is it that I was there at that time to be able to even know to do the things that I did, right? It was just having these, I've always had these kind of life experiences like that where, I was there and put in these places and these spaces to do certain things, but I would never talk about it because it was just like, you got to be humble and, you don't talk about those things. And I'm just like, yeah, you should talk about those things are beautiful. Those things save me, right? Like By doing that, by walking up to, I mean, that's what I believe, right? Those things were the little nuggets in my life that saved me along the way. Because there was times that I wanted to give up. There was times that I wanted to quit. There was times because I just couldn't figure out what the hell was. I always thought something was wrong with me, right? But then I would have those beautiful moments that was kind of there to let me know, no, you're on your path. This is what you're here for. You're here for these little things, right? And it was just, I could never put my finger on it, and it wasn't until I got into me. So just to bring it back, it wasn't until I got into breaking down the beliefs of everything everybody had ever told me and getting away from that and getting away from people saying, oh, you need to be humble. Okay, let's talk about that for a second. If a person is leading with ego and everything they are is just ego and right? Yeah, maybe they need to be humble a little bit. But if you're leading with your soul, you're leading with your spirit, and you're leading with love, what are you talking about, humble? No, give yourself away. Tell these stories so that people can understand this. There's a little girl somewhere having some experiences and don't really understand and don't really know. Baby girl, it's okay. You know what I mean? You're on your path. You just got to get away from listening to everybody else and break down everything that someone told you. It's because of my ugly truth that somebody else may be a little bit better today. They may hear the story of the bad girl who was not known for anything really other than being loud and boisterous, and was a teenage mom on welfare who spent more time trying to be hood and ghetto, and then went from doing all of that to getting locked up, to going to the military, to changing her life around, to being able to speak to you today the way that I am, to have the job, a 21 and a half career in the telecom industry, being a manager. It's because of my ugly truth that maybe if I speak it and maybe if you speak it and you tell somebody, hey, listen, if all of that can happen to me and I could be here today, you can too. And it was all okay. But today, now that you know a little bit better, you got to break down all that stuff that anybody ever told you. Really get in tune with you. Start to spend time alone. Meditate. I really started to really come into who I was, and listening to more of my inner self when I started meditating and really just spending time alone and not spending so much time around everybody else and getting everybody else's energy and everybody else's opinion. No, sometimes you have to come within. There is going to be a time and you'll know when you need to talk to someone else, right? You need to gain a different perspective. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about really coming to know who you are. And so when people say, who do you think you are? I can stand up and say, I'm love. I'm light. I am a changed, healed, loving, and beautiful soul. That is something I wouldn't have said to any of you yesterday. I would have been afraid to say it. It makes me emotional because there are so many girls, so many women walking around today stifled, and they won't speak their truth because they're so afraid of what someone else will say to them or make them feel like, you're not supposed to. That's braggadocious. No, it's not. It's healing. It's strength. It's vulnerability. It's beauty. Speak your truth more. If you take nothing else away from this video today, speak your truth so that these young girls don't grow up feeling how we feel. That's what it's really about. Coming into you, coming into knowing you, coming into loving you, coming into understanding that journey had to be the way it was so that you can come out on the other side. And there's so many people that don't. We are the blessed ones. We are the, whatever you call, the lucky ones, right? That happen to make it on the other side. There's so many that don't. So if your story can heal, if your story can save, please share it. I thank you for listening today. I love you. I am here for you anytime you want to reach out and talk. And I'm sorry it's a little bit longer than usual, but I really want you guys to understand that everything about you is beauty. Everything about you is love, the core of who you are. But you got to break down what everybody else has told you. You got to get away from that. Get into you, learn you, love you, and then share you. It's because your story may just save somebody else. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Sunday. Thank you for listening.